Welcome to New Europe. We have a special guest today from Greece, Anna Diamantopoulo, president of the network TODIKTIO, and former commissioner and minister in Greece. Welcome. We are going to talk about employment, austerity, and we would like to start first talking about the project, the idea, let's say the plan that will be presented to the European Social Economic Committee. If you can.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
Yeah.
And, it is very interesting for me as well. I am here in Brussels because I'm going to present tomorrow in the European and Social Committee a new European initiative, citizens' initiative. Maybe you know that according to the Lisbon Treaty, now the citizens of Europe have the right to change a law or to propose a new policy to the Commission through their signature. So we try to collect 1 million signatures across Europe for a very particular issue. What is this issue for this European initiative? It is about education. And what we propose is that in each country we have to agree that we will exclude the budget of education from the deficit of the country. And we have worked on this proposal. We do not exclude the whole budget, but just a part of this budget. And what is this budget? What is this part? It is the difference between a country and the average of the Eurozone. To give you a very simple example, is the average on educational budget in the Eurozone is 5%, and in Italy, for example, it is 4%, so we exclude only the 1%. And the major idea is that we try to converge the budgets on education in all European countries, because unfortunately, and because of the crisis, we have a huge underinvestment in education in many, many countries. And this will be the basis for the gaps in the future, bigger gaps than the ones we have now. So we try to do it in all countries. We have a network with institutions, with citizens, with syndicates, with politicians, with artists, with people from TV, with newspapers in all European countries. And we try to bring more and more people to sign this initiative. And I believe that we can present it from your channel and you can put it in your site. It is Invest in Education. The site is Invest in Education. You can click there and you can very easily sign.
What will be the path of this proposal? What's your objective then? Are you going to present it to the European Commission, European Parliament?
Yes, I have presented it in many groups in the European Parliament. We have many European parliamentarians who support it. There are many newspapers and broadcasters in many European countries who have already adopted this effort, and we have to gather the 1 million signatures up to the end of July, 8th of August. After that, we have to present it in the Commission. The Commission will work it in a legislative way, and then we're going to present. They're going to present it in the European Parliament.
Did you talk to commissioners about this proposal already? Commissioner for Social Affairs, Employment, did you have contacts in the Commission about that?
Of course, I have spoken to Mrs. Vassiliou, who is the Commissioner responsible for education, and to 3 other commissioners. The commissioners cannot sign because it is a citizens' initiative, but they're quite supportive, and they, as far as Mrs. Vassiliou I know, she finds it very good. In the past, when I was Minister of Education 2 years ago, I had proposed it in the Minister of Council, and there was a number of 7 countries, 7 ministers who had supported it. But of course, I think it is better to go through the citizens and include in this effort the whole European society.
I think that, yes, as you said, employment is a very important topic on the agenda right now. And, but also we see that this austerity that was a little bit a religion is not anymore a standpoint. What do you think? We see a lot of unemployment in the southern states. We see a lot of anti-Euro movements. We see a crisis of Europe.
You're right that austerity has been a kind of religion, but unfortunately it is still a kind of religion because as far as the European Council is concerned, we haven't any different approach. There was a very deep crisis. It was an international crisis, a European crisis, and then national crisis. And as far as my country is concerned, Greece, the crisis was really a catastrophe. It was the deepest crisis after the Second World War. The European Union did a lot. There was not an experience how to treat this kind of crisis. And the structure and the architecture of the euro was not the right one, and we know it very well. So Europe did many things. There were new institutions. There was an effort from many countries, but now we know that it was too little, too late, and there was not the results and the final conclusions we needed. So I believe that particularly because we see that the recession is going on, that the unemployment is a huge problem in many countries and not only in the south, I think that these European elections will be very crucial in order for the citizens to give a message that something has to be changed. And I believe that this will be understandable not only by the anti-Euro movements, but by the mainstream parties. We can see that there are some new proposals and some new ideas, but for the time being, we do not have a new plan, something alternative for overcoming the European crisis.
Everybody is now talking about growth. That was not it was not the case last year. This is. Do you think it's because of the European elections are approaching that maybe somebody's putting more the accent on growth than austerity? Nobody's putting the accent anymore, maybe on austerity. Also, Commissioner Rehn was much speaking about growth than before, and probably elections are coming close.
I believe that from the very first moment, everybody was talking about growth, but we didn't do many things about growth. So now it is obvious that the recession is going on, and we cannot see we cannot see changes, the changes needed concerning the growth politics. So to be more concrete, when we speak about growth, we have to make concrete proposals. What do we mean? How can we have growth in Europe? So I believe that we need a change in the European, in the policy and in the statute of the European Bank, of the European Central Bank. I support the idea that there is a need of a devaluation of euro. I believe that we need that the European Bank has to issue money. We need a bigger budget. We need a real budget for the European Union, because now the 1% is not a budget, is something very, very small. And we need a European package of public investment. 10 years ago, during the Prodi Commission, I was a member in the Prodi Commission, there was a big plan for European investment public investment in networks, in transport, in roads, in telecommunications. So it could be something very interesting with private and public money, and it could create many jobs in many different countries. So we need concrete ideas, and we have to work on these ideas, because just bringing the growth discussion, it is not enough. Everybody agrees on growth, but what do we mean by that?
Italian Prime Minister Renzi said yesterday that we should a little bit give up with this 3% objective and be a little bit more flexible in a way. Do you think this could be an answer, maybe to invest more on reforms and on the other hand have the possibility to be more flexible?
We know that the 3% was one of the main rules of the Stability Pact, but it was in a period where there was growth in the majority of countries in Europe. Now, if we speak only about this number, the 3% is not enough, because if we change it and we make the 3% 5%, and at the same time we do not have growth, then again we have this huge debt to grow more and more. So at the same time we have to see the new rules for the Stability Pact and how we can create growth. And in order to create growth, there is a real need in the way we behave in the monetary policy. So this is what I told you. I believe that we have to work with euro in a different way. Of course, we need reforms. All countries need reforms. Our own countries, I mean, Italy, Greece, Spain, Portugal, need more reforms than the others, and we have to do our homework. It is not the other's job, it is our job. But it is not only a national issue, it is a European issue. And as far as the European policies are concerned, I believe that the list I have already said, I mean, about the euro, about investments, about the European budget, is very important.
There are a lot of new anti-euro parties, and this is probably also cause of this crisis, of this momentum. It's quite difficult for population. Do you think that the result of these parties is going to be important, or you think that at the end of the day the citizens are going to vote in a more European and in a way civil way? Yeah.
I travel a lot, and I participate in many political events in many countries. So it is obvious that we have all these anti-European movements in a different way. I mean, they are extra right, extra left, or they are anti-politics movements. And the main issue of all this is the anti-Europeanism. It is always very easy to have the anti-politics. The difficult thing is always to propose and to bring ideas, concrete ideas on the table. I am afraid that we'll see many Pepe Grillos in the European Parliament, this kind of politicians. Not the majority, I don't believe that it can be more than 15 to 18%, but still it is a very big number. Let us think in our countries, if in our parliament we have 15% who were anti-national, anti-Greek, anti-Italian, anti-Portugal. So it is not an easy thing to deal with. It will be a new reality in the European Parliament. And on the other side, maybe it is a bell for the mainstream parties to be more concrete, effective, and near to the citizens.
There is still something we can do in these months. I mean, the political party, the civil society, because we see that in a lot of countries, like for example Italy, France, England, Holland, it's really a very important VAG That is, but we have only a few months. So
No, we cannot change the situation in 2 months' time. And the real problem is that people do not know many things about Europe. After 50 years, the citizens do not know what the European Union is. And this is why I believe that this kind of initiatives, as the European Citizens Initiative I explained to you a few minutes ago, is very important, because people from different countries, from Germany, from Great Britain, from Malta, from Portugal, can work together, can work for a very concrete goal, and they can achieve things who are very important for their everyday lives. So we have to work at the European level and not only at the national level. We cannot change it in 2 months. I mean, we can do it in the next years, in the years coming, which are coming. But as far as the parties are concerned, I believe that it is important that it is the first time that we have concrete people who are the future president for the Commission. I mean, Mr. Schulz, Mr. Juncker. I mean, it is very important that European politics have a face, and people know somebody who will be tomorrow the commissioner, the president of the Commission, for whom they vote for. So this is something different and quite important. On the other side, I am afraid that the program and the political way that the parties speak to people is still not clear and not concrete, comparing with the needs because of the crisis.
We know that austerity was hitting more the southern countries, but we see also some negative consequences on the northern ones. What do you think about that? Because it's normally more the southern part of Europe who is targeted. But
yes, you know, we have in Greece, we have a saying, and we say when your neighbor's home is in flames, you cannot feel safe. So we cannot say that it's a problem of the south and there is nothing in the north. No. If we continue this way and there is not a recovery in the south, then of course there will be an impact in the north, because the markets, the European markets cannot absorb the products of the north, and we will have flows of people who are going to work in this, who want to be the labor force in these countries. I think that there are many people in the north who understand that Europe has to work in an holistic way, that we're a family, that it is very important to have solidarity, to work together, and we have to put in place win-win policies, because things have changed. We can see what is going on in China, in India, in the United States. The European countries are very small. Even Germany, the biggest one, is a small country comparing with the other countries at the European level, at a global level. So we have to be together. Europe has to be a shield for everybody, for big and small countries. And this is the reason that this division between South and North, it's something which is extremely dangerous.
Don't you think that some countries were not able to implement labor reforms, credible labor reforms? This is an interesting topic.
Yes, not only reforms in the labor market. Of course, there are problems, and the political systems and the political parties have responsibility in many countries, because they didn't implement the reform when it was needed. And now we have to do it all again and from the beginning. And this is something which is not easy at that time, because it is very difficult to proceed with reforms when there is this kind of crisis, and when the everyday life, the everyday of people's life have changed in a dramatic way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and to our guests of New Europe studio. You can watch live our interviews on our internet site.
And sign up in Invest in Education.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much.